All right. Welcome back, everybody. Very happy to have on the channel today a man that knows the Bitcoin and YouTube game well, has well over 200,000 subscribers, the Moon Carl. Dude, thanks for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be on the channel. Been watching you guys from time to time, and amazing job on your channel.
I love it.
You as well, man. You've been growing like crazy. Amazing job to you too.
Now, in today's conversation, we're going to get heavy into Bitcoin, heavy into a few other cryptocurrency big picture topics maybe. But first, for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with your channel, can you kind of give us your background and maybe how you learned your style of TA?
Yeah, so on my channel, I make one video every day about the Bitcoin price. I also talk usually about the Ethereum price. I do technical analysis, essentially. I look at chart patterns, I look at indicators, I try to figure out where the price is going. And I've been doing this for now like 3 years or so on YouTube. And I learned technical analysis 3-4 years ago. I started to become very interested in trading, and I jumped into the crypto space in 2017, middle 2017 approximately. And well, essentially, I just, for me, it wasn't enough to just invest in Bitcoin and just be done with it. For me, I realized the potential so much that I needed to find a way to create a career in crypto, go full-time crypto, basically. I tell everyone to go full-time crypto because it can change your life drastically. That's what I wanted to do. So making technical analysis on YouTube every day has basically just led to the fact that I know what I'm doing now. I love doing this. I love making videos and seeing people watching my videos and being able to like learn and make money themselves. It's amazing. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. And I mean, Aaron and I were not traders, but generally what indicators are you all about most, or what's your style?
So I love patterns. I love to see these like rising wedges, falling wedges. You have these triangles and horizontal triangles, all these different chart patterns. They are very easy to trade because you get these very clear alerts. When you break a resistance or when you break a support, that's when you jump in, and then you usually have a very clear target. You just measure different heights in the triangles, and you measure, and you can perfectly exit at a target. So chart patterns are my favorite way to trade. It's also called like breakout trading because you trade the breakout. But then also just using the RSI to see some overbought, oversold territories. And something that is very powerful in the RSI is looking for bullish and bearish divergences. And I know that it might be a little bit too much to handle for someone to listen without the chart, but it's basically just looking at different points where Bitcoin or any asset might be reversing.
Now, do you consider yourself, because I don't know, do you consider yourself a Bitcoin maximalist? Obviously not, because you also talk about Ethereum. Or how do you think about it? Because it's like the Bitcoin maximalists are saying one thing, maybe they're right, the other people are saying another thing. You know, what group do you align with most? How do you think about it?
So I mean, people think I am a Bitcoin maximalist because I talk mostly about Bitcoin and I hold mostly Bitcoin. But I do hold Ethereum in my portfolio, and I do hold a couple of altcoins also besides that. The thing is that I believe in Bitcoin much more than any other altcoin out there, by far, actually. And I think it's mostly because I understand Bitcoin more than any other altcoin by far. I guess I understand Ethereum to an extent, but there are so many things that goes into it that I just don't have time to fully comprehend the scope of like what Ethereum can do and what it will do in the future. But when it comes to Bitcoin, I truly feel like I have a good understanding. Even before I went into crypto, I was heavy into gold and precious metals. I was this gold bug, you know. I was researching the monetary system. I was researching the Federal Reserve, the dollar, and all this stuff. So kind of my background in monetary, like history, monetary policies, made it very easy for me to understand Bitcoin and understand why Bitcoin matters. And I feel like the monetary properties of Bitcoin are something that I just kind of understand. And you know how it is, like you always want to buy something that you understand, never buy things that you don't understand. And when it comes to the altcoins, when I go to CoinMarketCap and I scroll down, I just realized that I don't understand these things. Like there are so many altcoins out there. There are thousands of them. And I'm sure many of them are going to completely revolutionize different industries out there. I just think I'm probably not the person to pick these altcoins out. That said, though, I do hold Ethereum. I do hold some altcoins, mostly based on other people's research, because I mean, when a serious stock investor buys a stock, usually they would take at least a few weeks to kind of go into the mechanics of it, like go through the balance sheet and like a big macro financial like analysis, and then you buy the stock. But in the altcoin space, it's like people just go to CoinMarketCap and they buy number 13 and you buy number 20, and like this is going to pump up to, it's just a little bit too much speculation for my taste. So that's why I mainly stick to Bitcoin, but I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist because I do see the potential in altcoins. It's just that I tend to just stick with Bitcoin for me.
Very sensible, very sensible. And you don't even have to like believe in, let's just say like Ethereum on a fundamental level to, you know, see that it might do well this cycle, just as Ethereum as an example. Yeah. But anyway, for Bitcoin, we just started the new year. How do you see Bitcoin playing out in 2021? Where is it headed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited for what's happening currently because I mean, you and I, we've all been saying it for a long time now that Bitcoin is going to break $20,000. It's going to happen. It's inevitable, all of these things. And well, it's happening. And I think it's interesting because we knew it was going to happen, but now that it's happening, it's actually quite surprising in a way because it's like, it feels a little bit surreal. It's very, very cool. And I think that we have seen nothing yet. I think we're going to go much, much higher. So for me, I think that I've always said that I think 100,000 is an easy target. And well, when I said it back at $10,000, it still seemed like a big task, like a big thing. But now it's like, it's not even a 3x to reach these levels. So, but I also think that we can go much higher than that. I think 100,000 by the end of this year is like a conservative target. I think that Bitcoin could easily go to 200,000 by the end of this year, maybe even higher than this, but 200,000 would be something that I would feel is reasonable based on the previous history of Bitcoin. It's just following the trend. In fact, if Bitcoin doesn't reach 100,000 or 200,000 by the end of this year, then that would be out of the ordinary for Bitcoin. That would be changing the trend. That would be weird, essentially. Like the trend is your friend. And if the trend is going to continue like it has been for the last 12 years, then we should see these price levels.
Absolutely. And just comparing it to 2017 or before, everything we're seeing for Bitcoin is just as bullish, if not more, than what we saw 3-4 years ago. So things could get crazy. And speaking of what you said, how has your sort of strategy or your decision-making changed or updated in 2021 from what you were doing or what you've seen since 2020?
My strategy is not really changing so much. I think I always accumulate Bitcoin. That is something that I always do, no matter if it goes up or if it goes down. The only thing that I'm getting prepared for now is basically how to play the next cycle. Like I want to make sure that we try to take some profits towards the top of this cycle, but I also I would never sell all my Bitcoin. That would never happen. We're talking about like 5-10%, take some profits and invest in things that can generate cash flow over time. And so I can basically, I want to build a big cash flow, bigger than I have now for the next bear market, so I can accumulate the bear market, because we will see a bear market, I think, in the next few years, of course. Just like every time before we see a big bubble, we see a following bear market. So that's just what I'm preparing for right now. And usually what I say usually is that I feel like above 100,000 and up to 200,000, that's what I want a dollar cost average out of Bitcoin with a small part of my portfolio, taking profits essentially, and buying things that will not only maintain its value, but that will actually generate cash flow.
And let me ask you this, maybe not so much for a new investor, because I think for advice-wise, because we would all give sort of the same advice for a new cryptocurrency investor coming into the space. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, keep long time preferences. But for somebody who's been around for a while, what advice, just friend to friend and not financial, would you give a cryptocurrency investor in 2021?
That's a good question. I think that, well, if people ask me, for example, how to invest $1,000 into crypto currently, if they have something like spare change laying around, I still think it's reasonable to put at least 90% of that into Bitcoin. And then the rest of this 10%, you could go like 5% into Ethereum and then 5% into random altcoins that you find. That has always been my answer to this question, and it is still my answer. I know that people are waiting for this like altcoin season to happen, and I think there will be an altcoin season at some point, for sure. It's going to be a huge one. But I don't know when it's going to happen, and up until that point, I don't feel comfortable holding altcoins or buying altcoins currently. So I'm with Bitcoin as long as the trend is for like going up for Bitcoin. And currently, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance currently has a trend of going up, and it's been the case for quite some time now. And I want to align with that trend. And whenever we do see a big altcoin season, which we will see, then that's when we can take advantage of that. But usually when I buy altcoins, it's more for the shorter term. It's more like a swing trade. I don't buy altcoins to hold for the next 10 years because it's hard for me to predict the future of altcoins. I mean, when I see the future for Bitcoin much more clearly than any other altcoin out there. But yeah, for the short term, we can take advantage of altcoin seasons.
Very reasonable. Very reasonable. I like it. Now, obviously, like altcoins, don't hold them. You don't want to get stuck holding bags. I think we're in agreement. Hopefully, people learned that after 2017. But you mentioned Ethereum specifically, and just in the space in general, Ethereum seems to be kind of differentiating itself. Do you think of it as a long-term hold, or?
So Ethereum for me is, yes, it is a long-term hold in the sense that I'm going to hold it for the next 1 to 2, 3 years at least. That's for sure. Now, maybe not necessarily the next like 10, 20 years, which is the case for Bitcoin. For Bitcoin, I'm holding forever. Like it's for the next generations to come after me, like for sure. Ethereum, more like maybe let's say medium term then, but like in crypto 2-3 years is definitely long term, right? Crypto is a quick fast paced moving market. So I would say yes. I do believe in Ethereum. I think Ethereum has a clear advantage over other coins out there. It has a network effect, and you have all the developers, and people are using Ethereum. It's one of the very, very few coins out there that are actually being used. And that's very important for me when I buy something. Like if an altcoin is not being used, if they have no users, if there's nothing going on, then there's no point to be buying this coin. But Ethereum has a lot of things going for it. And I'm bullish on Ethereum. I think that Ethereum could easily do well against Bitcoin in the next, in this bull cycle. And even if it doesn't, then that's fine because like I said, I only hold a part of my portfolio in Ethereum, but I feel like it's reasonable to have exposure to Ethereum because if Ethereum does very, very well, then you want to have at least some Ethereum in your portfolio. So that's why I keep some of it.
And that's how you know that Carl is a, thinking smart because he's weighing the altcoin positions versus Bitcoin. But just for simplicity's sake, Ethereum at the end of 2021 versus USD. What are your predictions on that?
At the end of this year in US dollars, well, I think easily $5,000. That's like a very conservative, I think. But let's say $5,000. I think Ethereum could go to 5, 6, 7,000. And I think that, that's basically. But I don't have like. When it comes to Bitcoin, it's easier for me to predict the trend because I feel like I have more technicals to go on. On Ethereum, it's more like a hunch. It's more like a gut feeling. And
there's no price history with Ethereum. It's only had one cycle. It's different. So yeah, it's kind of hard to predict any altcoin because really Bitcoin has the, increases in value year after year. It's such a nascent space. It's so hard to say.
Yeah. So it's just a guess. it's just a guess. It's not really like fundamentally backed up or technically backed up, but I think it could happen for sure.
Oh, it's just a guess. I got to cancel my buy order.
I mean, even so, to me, that sounds, again, we'll have to see what this space entails, but if Bitcoin 10Xs from here, goes to 20K to 200K, which, hey, hopefully it happens. Nobody knows.
Let me at 10X.
Yeah, 10X. That's what I meant, 10X. Then Ethereum 5Xing from 1,000 to 5,000 seems undervalued to me in terms of, these altcoins pop and then they immediately drop. So we'll have to see. I'm just sort of throwing stuff around saying things could get crazy. And speaking of altcoins, yes, 90% of your portfolio is Bitcoin, maybe 5% Ethereum. When you personally are looking at that other 5%, just generally speaking, what sort of stuff do you look for?
So usually, actually, I go a lot on recommendations from friends and people that I trust that are doing a lot of research. I know a few people that are very, very well informed in altcoins, that are doing very well by buying altcoins. And I tend to go on these recommendations. And then, of course, I do some research myself. You should always do the research yourself, not only listen to other people. But that tends to be kind of the at least how I get introduced to altcoins. I'm not the guy who goes to CoinMarketCap and like looks for altcoins to buy, unless there is an altcoin season. I mean, in an altcoin season, all bets are off. You just go into trading, you look for nice patterns, and you just buy, and then you sell like a week later or so. But if you talk more of like the longer term or like this bull cycle, it's hard for me to kind of give you like a strategy, because I think that there's so many altcoins doing the same thing and they are all promising a lot of stuff. So for me, it's
I'm just asking
to find altcoins.
I'm just asking, like, DeFi, is that the sort of types? Like, are you just,
like what trends? Like DeFi is a trend. Maybe gaming would be a trend. I'm just throwing those out there. Do you think? Do you foresee any trends happening, or you rely on the experts?
All right. So the coins I do hold are predominantly DeFi. So I think that DeFi is a trend that got a lot of hype back a few months ago. I think that if there is ever, I mean, when there is an altcoin season again, I do believe that DeFi is probably going to be the trend that is going to have the strongest like hype. So that's why I hold more DeFi than any other things. And I think we can see that many of the older coins, they haven't really performed very well so far in this cycle. So you could either take that as a sign that you should buy these older coins because they're more undervalued rather than DeFi, but you could also maybe have the argument that, well, these old coins are maybe like boring now, and now it's the new hype and this new trend of DeFi. But then that also means that in the future, there will be another trend that is probably going to take over DeFi, and then DeFi is boring. So these things are very hard to, it's always something new in altcoins, and it's hard to keep track.
I relate to that, that state of mind, thinking, what could be next? I relate. I have a final question, Aaron. I don't know if you do, but also,
I could probably think of one more. Yeah.
Okay, great. This one's an interesting one. We actually got it from one of our subscribers, audience members. What's your counter narrative insight? Meaning the single biggest risk to BTC not playing out as we're all expecting.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I have been thinking about it a lot, and like, I don't see any like clear threat that right now could just completely kill Bitcoin. There's no like clear, obvious threat. I think if there is any threat that actually will kill Bitcoin, then there will be something that we couldn't foresee. There will be something just coming out of nowhere, like a black swan event that makes everything just change. But I mean, people talk about quantum computers, right? Quantum computers could potentially be threats to Bitcoin according to some people, but according to some other people, they say that it's fine. We can implement things in the Bitcoin protocol that prevents quantum computers from hacking Bitcoin. And then, I mean, we have if the internet goes down for weird reason, but that I don't like that argument, because of course, if the internet gets killed in the whole world, then we have bigger problems than Bitcoin not working. And then I think regulation might be like the biggest thing right now. Like if all governments in the world just say it's illegal to use Bitcoin, then of course that's going to take longer for Bitcoin to get adopted out there, because it's obvious, like it will definitely prolong the adoption of Bitcoin. It cannot kill Bitcoin, like that can never kill Bitcoin, but it can make it a little bit harder for people to use Bitcoin. And of course, that's not good. But I don't really see any anything that could like totally kill Bitcoin right now.
Totally. I guess my final question is, because I think we're all such big Bitcoin believers, I think we share similar mindsets. Bitcoin's a long-term hold. A portion of your Bitcoin will never sell. But most people getting in this space today look at Bitcoin and go, that's way too expensive. Most people can't buy a full Bitcoin. So my question to you is, if somebody could accumulate, let's just say 0.28 Bitcoin, do you think that's of any significance?
For sure. I mean, I think, isn't that the way to get into the 1% in the world? I think so, right? I think that 0.28 Bitcoin is already a lot of money actually for many people, right? And if Bitcoin goes 10x from here, which it will, then obviously that kind of money is life-changing for many people. I think that simply holding 0.1 Bitcoin or 0.28 Bitcoin will definitely be the best investment that most people have done in their life, by far. Even, I mean, buying something and having it go 10x, it's extremely hard to find, I think that I usually tell people that it's riskier to not hold Bitcoin rather than to actually buy Bitcoin. Like if you buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, you can only ever lose $1,000, but you can have amazing upside potential. Bitcoin is going to go 10x. It can go 50x, even 100x in the next 10, 20 years. So essentially the risk reward ratio is completely insane and completely unheard of. You don't find that risk reward ratio anywhere else. So the upside is 100x. The downside is only 1x. Like you can only lose what you put in, right? So that's why I think Bitcoin is fantastic, and only holding, like you said, a small part of Bitcoin right now can turn out to be life-changing for many people.
Hell yeah. Carl, thank you so much for coming on, man. I want to throw it over to you for final thoughts, but I want to encourage everybody, link to Carl's channel is in the description. He does TA, huge Bitcoin believer, very successful channel. Subscribe to him right now. And Carl, final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the channel, and I'm very excited for this bull market. I hope you guys are also excited, and let's do this again in the future.
Hell yeah.
Love it.